Hello, hello. Not sure if anyone's on yet. Hello. But I will be here. I've got the hat ready to work on. I did some stuff on it last night to um, prep it. I did some work of marking my center points. I folded this over and stitched it to hold it for a while. I started getting my piping together, got the cord for the piping cut out. Needed to do one more thing here with Rosie's hat, and I'm going to do that real quick so that I can mail it off tomorrow because I didn't get it done last night. Hi, Jennifer. I made a miniature pirate hat for one of my viewers on here, friends and viewers. They commissioned a miniature hat that they could use as a keychain, which can also be used as basically a fascinator, so they can put hair clips on it and wear it themselves if they so desire. I'm going to try to screw this together. I'm going to go ahead and move some of this stuff out of the way. All the parts ready to go. I'm going to be working on the piping first, but just finished Rosie's little miniature hat here. I put the clips on it to kind of force it to shape a bit, and it did. It has the key ring here that she can actually fold inside. It has two places to put hair clips, so she can clip it on her own head if she so desires. She could actually use the key ring clip also as a way to clip. She can put her keys in it, and she can actually put keys in it like that. She could clip a little wallet with money in it or cards or whatever, and then wear it on her head, keep her stuff out of the way. This little baby is ready to go. And yes, these miniatures like this would work great with teddy bears and stuff like that. Some of them are easier to make than others. Some of the miniature hats are more difficult. Hi, Sue. Good seeing you here. But I now have I have Sue's turtle and Rosie's hat ready to go. So tomorrow, while I'm supposed to be working and I'm not doing anything, I will go ahead and box them up. And that way I can have those put into the post office box. Might be able to actually get them in before the mail picks up tomorrow. And I'm going to pull up this picture again real quick. And I need the right screen because I cannot share from YouTube. I have to go into the StreamYard to do this. What I'm going to start with is working on this material here, the piping. and getting all this piping together. I use this cord, just so happens that it's also rainbow, so I think that's kind of cool. I use this rainbow cord. It is the right size. I cut my leather strip. I will get some glue out. I will lay this in here and I will glue it, and then I will flip it again to let it dry so that the cord is pushed as far into the center as possible. And then I will go back and I will put in my stitching holes so that when I'm sewing the layers of the hat together, I can sew it and leave just this piping sticking out. I don't use the pre-made piping, and one of the reasons I don't use it is because there's a stitch line on pre-made piping. And if you don't stitch it close enough, that machine stitching shows, and that's not always as clean as I would like to see it be. So I would rather just make my own piping. And I folded this last night, hoping it would give it a little bit of a fold, which it seems to have done. I'm just going to throw these clips off to the side because I will be using them again. This is a piece of the same leather I used for the edge to go around the hat, which also has to be stitched on. Which I have to find because I was using it yesterday and it was rolled up sitting on my desk, and now I can't find it. Which means I put it somewhere that I would not lose it, which is kind of scary because I move stuff where I won't lose it and then I misplace it. But I will find it because I really don't want to have to cut a new one and punch holes in it. I'm looking at all the normal places I put it. I usually hang it on something. But I'm not seeing it. But it's okay because I don't have to put that on until the end. And that way I can check around my work area to see if I dropped it. But this, on the other hand, I can work on now. Clean the old glue up out of my dish. I let the glue dry in my dish because when it's dry, I can just peel it out, which is easier than trying to clean up wet glue. Dry glue can just be peeled off. It was still wet a little bit, but that's okay. I've got my wonderful baby wipes and paper towels. When I work with glue, I wind up with baby wipes on my table all the time because they're really good for keeping my fingers clean. Reusable takeout container from the local Chinese restaurant. Hi, Flutter. Flutter, that short from last night, is that when the ice moved on you? Or was that a different time that you were out there and the ice kind of shifted on you. Because I was watching that when your camera shook and you're like, woo. I was like, oh crap, I don't need flutter falling through the ice. We don't want flutter falling through the ice. This is almost like being in elementary school and your craft projects. I'm going to move this so it's working across. And I kind of put this somewhat in the middle for when I fold it. But that's how it'll be. Part of my tedious work of all this. I hope everybody had a pretty good day today. Got a lump in my throat. I have to make sure I pull that lump out when I do this. Pull it and start back at the beginning. Sandwich it and push it down. And as I'm doing it, I'm pushing that cord to that center line. I cut it far wider than I need it so that I don't have to make sure my lines are lined up exactly the same, because I'll cut some of this back anyway. Oh, shoot. Yeah, Flutter goes ice fishing. It does videos while ice fishing. Flutter also does other fishing when it's not ice season. I think given the right environment, Flutter would be on the water 7 days a week. If she were able to do so. Flutter, you just need a big houseboat. Live on the water. And you can go fishing anytime you want. Of course, that wouldn't work well when the lake is frozen because you'd kind of be frozen in. Hi, Monica. Can you actually live on a boat where it freezes a lot? Like you guys get sheets of solid ice on the lake, multiple inches thick, so that thick enough that you can go on it and fish without worry. Or I should say without much worry. Except for when the little annoying ones bring their cars out there and drive on the ice. Yeah, I was thinking if you were living on a boat, you would have to relocate the boat out of the water before it froze. I said you'd have to have a place to dry dock it. Oh, just get a piece of lakefront property and have some kind of winch system where you can pull the boat up onto a ramp, level it out so you can stay in it in the wintertime. And then you can put it back in the water when the water's going and have your 24/7 water. Have your little fishing shack right there next to the water's edge when you want to go ice fishing. This piece does not feel like it's pushing where it needs to be. I'm putting a lot of pressure on that, trying to shift that cording into the edge where I want it without having to pull this apart. That's better. Again, this is the water-based glue. It's used only to hold this in place while I'm stitching. It is not used for the reinforcement itself, so I'm not too worried about pulling it apart and putting it back together and it not holding, or not holding 100%, because the stitch line on that will be on here is what's going to hold everything in place. Now it feels even. There we go. We go on the 15th and we celebrate half price chocolate day. We don't do Valentine's. We do half price chocolate day. We've been together long enough that, doing that whole thing really isn't a big deal to us. Oh, it's really bothering me that I've lost that little roll of cut leather that I put all those little holes in yesterday. It's really, really bothering me that it's missing. I'm going to poke around a little bit more for that while this is drying. I don't think I'm going to have to clip this. I think I pressed it well enough that I just need to let it dry. I will set it up here, out of the way. And then I can stand up and look. Look at the top, look at my desk from the top down, because that's how I find things. And guess what? It's not here. I hope I didn't throw it away with the stuff last night that I was tossing out. I was trying to clean up last night. Huh. Did not toss it out. But I found it. Pretty sure this is the right piece. I didn't realize this thing was right at the camera. I didn't actually stitch this. I just did some little cross threads on there. Even though that pink thread does not look bad on there. But I'm not sewing it in pink. I'm going to jump back and read some messages. Jennifer, you know that you'll be in our prayers during surgery. And I think my grandchild is coming down and not paying attention to the fact that I'm supposed to be streaming again. Hold on a minute. Okay. I had to now I have to figure out how to access my phone while I'm using it as a camera, because I need to do something on my phone. Which actually, I'm just going to turn the camera off for a minute so that I can do this. Hi, Shane. How are you? Shane does some awesome leather work as well. I have to do something on my phone real quick, so I have to pull it down from being my camera. This is something that we didn't clarify. I am on a stream, child. Are you sending it? Grandchildren, gotta love them, right? I just told him I was on live, and so he comes down here again, being loud, because that's what children do. Okay. Now I'll get my camera going back up. Busy. Yeah, you stay busy, Shane. I do this on the side. I work 8 hours a day, and then come down here and do leather working in my evenings. So it's something I do. It's something I enjoy. I actually have people approaching me to make clothing and stuff like that, and I'm like, that's a Shane thing. Yes, Marcia, I did have to mute because my grandson came down here and decided Topher absolutely needed to talk to me while I was on live to ask me a question that was not about the world being saved. So yeah. So I found my edge piece. So I'm making a beautiful rainbow fancy hat. I didn't pick the leather, someone else did. It's what they want, that's what they get. Because that's how we do things. They handpick the leather and say, this is what I want. And we say, okay, I can do that for you. Although I do have a leather sewing machine. This is not being made on the sewing machine. This is 100% hand stitched. Because I'm insane like that. I just put these stitches in last night so that I could do some layup and testing stuff in advance. But I'm going to be stitching this edge piece on. I'm not going to start from the first hole. I'm not going to start from this first hole. I'm going to actually go back and start from here. That way, when I get around to the other side, I can make sure that I overlap my edges a little bit to secure that seam that I'm going to have here. Shane, you got that right. And we do what our clients want, as long as it doesn't kill us morally, we're okay, There's certain things I would never make. Some of them have to do with that German dude. Anything related to him, I would not make. Yes, Sue, it absolutely did make you an awesome little turtle. And made Rosie a cute little hat. Measuring out my thread here that I'm using. I will fight with longer threads to stop from having to splice my thread in the middle of what I'm doing. I hate splicing thread. It's a personal preference. Other people will only use small pieces of thread or much smaller pieces of thread, and then they will splice it 3 or 4 times on a project. It's just a preference thing. It's why even when I sewed, I would wind up with these spools of thread with just little bits of thread on them, because I refused to start a project with a spool of thread that I knew couldn't sew multiple seams. It's just part of me. I would use the partial spools for my hand sewing projects. Hardest thing for me were those projects that were major that took 2 or 3 spools of thread, and I wouldn't be able to do those without using multiple threads. Yeah, those chest sets are not something I really push hard on, because those are time consuming. A lot of people don't realize how time consuming those chest sets are when it's hand stitched. But you look at the chessboard, you hand stitch every one of those little squares down, and then you hand stitch every one of those little pieces, every one of those little chessmen. It's time consuming. Again, I push my thread through to anchor it, so when I drop my needle, which I will do, my needle doesn't come off the thread, and I don't actually lose my needles. This thread is so waxed. The pattern that I'm using normally calls for a 1.5 millimeter hole, and I do not use a 1.5 millimeter hole. I use a 1 millimeter hole, and it's just because I'm insane like that. I like the smaller ones. And this is another one of those. You got to catch the actual hat piece in the middle of this edge piece, and then pull thread forever. Getting it started is the hard part. But I work with technology all day. I work with a computer for a living, and that's how I got started in this, was with the hand sewing instead of using a machine, because I wanted to take a step back from technology. And I need to move my razor knife before I slice my threads in the middle of my stitching. And because I make my holes a little bit smaller, well, I missed that one completely. I cannot run 2 needles at the same time. A lot of times you will see someone that's leather crafting will put 1 needle through, and then they'll come back and start this needle and pull them through at the same time. But because I'm using a much smaller hole, I can't do that. The needles I would have to have would be so small that it wouldn't fit the thread I'm using. And the hole purpose of me doing it this way is so that when I do the stitching, and after I tap my stitches when I finish sewing, there won't be any daylight seen between where the holes are. It'll all be filled with the thread. Oh, razor. I have an extra razor blade over here that I just caught. I'm actually going to shift this so that the stitching is on the outside. So that I can watch my threads better. Let's see. That's the start of it. Yeah, and I do find this relaxing. Shane does he does more intricate work. He does clothing. He does vests and jackets and shirts and skirts with pockets. Actually, I think everything he makes has pockets. And he does a lot of patches and stuff like that. And so some of the stuff he does is a lot more tedious than the stuff I do. That if I were to try to do that as much as I've been making things, I wouldn't love it anymore. Because part of it is this is relaxing for me. Even the tedious parts of the hand stuff, it's relaxing to me. And if I had to do it on a more tedious basis, I couldn't do it. And part of that has to just do with the stress from my job. If I was doing leather crafting as my primary job, I possibly could, but it's not. I leave that to others. Yeah, this is my side gig, my hobby side gig, not my permanent gig. It's what I'll do one day when I retire. Errands, laundry, cooking, dinner, and cleanup. I worked. Actually, I sat at my computer and I went to a meeting, did my part of the meeting, then took a nap for the rest of the meeting because it had nothing to do with me. But it was mandatory for me to be in there. No one could see me because we don't use cameras. And then I sat around and cataloged some more of my rocks because actually I sorted the tumbles because I had no work to do. I have a meeting at 3 on what's next tomorrow on what's next. So I have to be available in case they want me for something. So I had to sit around and do a whole lot of nothing all day as far as work goes. But I just had to keep wiggling my mouse. I had to sit at my computer and wiggle my mouse just in case somebody sent me a message, because that's how we do things. I don't understand it. I think they should pay me to go off and do whatever I want to do. I guess they figure they're paying me so they can pay me and tell me to stay at my computer. And that's basically what we do. And it's billable time to the client that hired me to do that they pay. Or I work for a company and they basically have me farmed out to someone else. The other company pays 40 hours a week for me to be available. Whether I'm working or not, they're paying for me to be available exclusively to them. It's a different setup from what I'm used to working with. I'm used to having so much work, I don't know which ends up. And that's not the way this gig is, because even if the company has a lot of other work to do, I am not allowed to work for any other client except this one, because they pay for my time. Pay me to do nothing. It's okay. You can do that. Yeah, I laid out the stuff for the rest of the hat last night, counted holes, put my half point markers in, made sure everything was going to align correctly. Remembered that I wanted to alter this pattern and haven't done so yet. The way the original pattern is, when I was talking about sewing it, this one stitches butt up like this, and the next piece over, it overlaps. I might cut off one set of holes on the other one and redo the holes so it butts up like this as well, because I just think it would look nicer to have that consistent seam down the back. I'm all about that balance. And ouch, my finger hurts. I ripped up some skin yesterday. I think I need to put a Band-Aid on it before I sit here and rip up my skin some more. So I pulled up that skin right at the edge of your nail. Broken every fingernail I have. I need to do something to protect them. Put this on my finger so I quit pulling that thread across it. Yeah, Jennifer, that's what's weird about this place. I'm not allowed to work over 40 hours a week unless they exclusively say, can you work over this week? They may ask me to work over on a Monday or Tuesday, but I'm expected to take time off later in the week to balance that out and stay at 40 hours. Hi, Francis. Good to see you. And I'm used to working 50 to 60-hour weeks. And so this whole concept of only working 40-hour work weeks is weird. It really is. My old job, I would still be working right now. On my old job, there were times that I would start Robbie's lives on whatever day, on a Friday when he went to Fridays, and I would still be working. I'd be watching his live while I'm working still. So this whole concept of, doing the 9 to 5, so to speak, and logging off is just weird. Catch up on reading. Oh shoot, caught my thread. Let me undo this before I tighten it up too tight and can't get it out. See that extra wax from this waxed thread? They had someone ask about using this kind of thread on their sewing machine. I was like, no. That would be terrible for the machine to have all that wax inside of it. Machines use oil, not wax. I did figure out how to use the banner feature. Really, Marcia? You're so kind. Thank you. Anything I get this month, I consider it a birthday present. Happy birthday to me. Jennifer sent me a cool Christmas present. Purple leather gloves. One day I'm going to take the time to learn how to make them. I started working with gloves to find my pattern that I wanted for my hands to fit me exactly the way I wanted them to fit. And yeah, it didn't work. I didn't like it when I started making it. So it was like, throw away, start over. Pull those stitches nice and snug. I talk to myself when I sew. So I figured doing videos would work out because then I wouldn't sound crazy, because if I talk to myself, you think I'm talking to you. Sometimes I am. Marcia, I do appreciate you. After I get my commissions, I need to get my commissions caught up. I've got this hat. I have the other two hats. I have the shoe purse. I think that's all my paid commissions. I would actually have to check my list. And then the end of this month, the guy is going to pay me for the replica of the rustling hood I'm making for him. I see you, Flutter. You guys always pick cool icons, or yeah, emotes to put up. Needles and threads, and yeah. Yeah, I'm not wearing the purple gloves in the rain, Jennifer. I am actually going to pack them when I go to Texas in March for a thing. Crossed my thread again. I'm really bad about crossing threads. And that's not okay. Did it again. Trying to put my threads in a knot. And that was because I dropped the thread between my feet. I dropped the needle between my feet instead of holding it up on the table. Yeah, I noticed that, and remember you saying that, Flutter, that your chats have been acting stupid where they just kind of quit showing things. Yeah, I actually want one of those steampunk trunks. I just don't want to make one because that also requires some woodworking. And I promised after I bought my laser cutter that I still have yet to work with that I would not be picking up any new hobbies. I cannot pick up any new collections or any new hobbies because collecting antique and vintage sewing machines is one thing, and then I went to collecting these wonderful stones and rocks that I have. I don't have as many sewing machines as I have rocks, but I do have a collection. And this is the part where it starts to get squirrely for me because I've got to hit this curve right. Hit the curve right and keep it snug. Hi, Britta. It'd be convenient if my husband was into woodworking, but he is not. Not by any stretch of the imagination. There's a hole there. Ouch. Do not stick a needle through my finger today. Yesterday was enough. Making sure I'm keeping these stitches snug. Sorry, I didn't catch that. Now this is where it gets real good because I've got to go through this layer plus this back piece, the main piece, the front piece, and then this trim piece again. Now I'm going to have to start cutting these additional threads as I go. Oh, come on. in the hole, people. These corners are going to be the hardest. But once I get it up here, it won't be so bad. So I guess it's just two holes that make it hard. Through that hole. Through that hole. Over here. That is so not. I'm going to have to do this one little stitch at a time. Through this hole. Through this hole. And then through his counterpart on the other side. Come on. I dropped the needle again. And then through the next hole on this. I'm so glad you guys can't see the acrobats that's going on behind with me on this with this thread. Second needle's easier than the first. I had more patience when I was younger. Oh. This is where those little clippy things that I was talking about yesterday, I could go in every so often and pin it basically in place. Hey Lisa. Hope you're having a good day today. Get that garage finished. And I am going to log off at 9 o'clock. So anyone that's here, still here at 9 o'clock, or when it gets close to 9 o'clock, please do backflips in the chat or whatever, because I want to be able to take a break and allow anyone watching to take a break and get something to drink, get a snack or whatever. And then we're going to go over to Thule's in a Pod's chat room. And Tuesday is normally like some kind of game night, trivia night, talk about the news and all that kind of stuff. So we will be going over there. And we'll repeat the same process on Thursday. I'll come on at 6 until 9. And then we'll take a break, and then we will go to Two Leaves in the Pod. And on Thursdays, they sell, Kendra and Lisa sell beautiful crystals. I usually refer to everything as rocks. You can buy pretty rocks from them, yeah. Get your rocks from Lisa and Kendra. And if you don't know them, I can verify that they are real people. I have met Lisa in face to face in real life. I have stayed in Lisa's house. Lisa is a real human being, a good person. Charge doctor's rates? Huh. I barely get crafters rates or leather crafter rates on some of this stuff. People don't want to pay the price. They want custom made goods, but they don't want to pay custom made prices. And I say people generically because some people do. Some people appreciate the value of what I do, this kind of stuff, and either pay me or we barter. They either pay the price or we barter the price, whatever, because I do bartering. I keep hitting that piece I put in the middle for the support. So now you can see it created a little bit of a wrinkle here. I'm hoping I'll be able to pull that out or bang it out when I hit it with the hammer and everything. Yeah, people don't care about that either, Marcia. One time I made a comment about everything's hand stitched, and the person's comment was, "What? You don't know how to use a sewing machine?" And I'm like, "Yes, darling. I've been using a sewing machine since I was 4 or 5 years old. I was a little kid. I know how to sew quite well." There are things you can do with your hands you can't do with a machine. No, Lisa is not in North Carolina. Lisa is down in Florida. Not someone you would have ever met, Jennifer. I met Lisa through someone else, the guy that has the animal sanctuary down there. He and Lisa go back years when they were both in the rock music industry. And now they're both in Florida, which is kind of cool. It worked out. It was just a good place to relocate. Got a thing going on with my threads here. Yep. There we go. That's the easy stuff. I can do more stitching at one time. Pull that stitch down out of the way so when I stitch, I don't stitch through the thread. Catchment piece. And to make sure that I'm getting all the layers, which you don't see is when I put the needle through, I actually pull it up a little bit, because if I miss this piece and I only stitched it through these two pieces, when I pulled up, I would feel it come away. Okay, let me see. For Free Spirit, I actually have a leather stitching machine, one made for sewing leather specifically. No, you're a what some people would refer to as a damn Yankee. You're one of those people from the north that came down to the south and you haven't left. This is the hat. This is the third time I've been working on this hat, because people ask me not to do it without them. So we're kind of trying to do this together. Me doing it and other people watching it. But most of the people in Florida are people that relocated to Florida. There's a lot of people in Florida that were not born there. Gabe was born here. Ah, well, that's a good reason for you to be there too, huh? You married into Florida. Wow. Ah, shoot, I forgot to cut that thread. I'll do that before I go too much further. I actually might have sewn into this thread. Which means I'm just going to have to cut it some more to get it to pull through. Absolutely do not want pink showing, so that was the running stitch I made to hold these layers together while I was sewing on the other parts, because it is only a water-based glue. It's not a real strong glue, so I needed to make sure that I held those pieces together until I was ready to stitch them. Lisa, that's true of a lot of places. They're not what they used to be. It's the same way with where I grew up. There's no way. The people got ugly, I guess is the best way to put it. They just got uglier towards other people. And there's just no way on earth I could live there. They don't do well. If you don't think exactly the way they think, then they don't like you. They want nothing to do with you. Because if you don't think like they do, then there's something wrong with you. You're wrong. Which is insane that they don't think other people can have opinions. And that's why I don't even go to my regular Facebook anymore. I use Messenger because people are just, I don't know, they got so ugly. The only time they want to be nice to you is if they want something from you. And that's just not my style. If you can't be nice to me all the time, then you don't need to be nice to me anytime. You moved to Florida the week of 9/11? Oh, wow. Sometimes life just has a way of laying things out to the right way for you. And that's, I know a lot of people that were up there. I know people that were supposed to be on some of those airplanes. They were at a convention for vintage and antique sewing machines. And at the last minute, the whole group of them decided we're going to change our flights, leave out tomorrow or leave out later in the day. Some were tomorrow, some were later in the day. And we're going to go antique shopping instead. And so none of them were on the flights that they were supposed to be on. So we wound up with a bunch of people with no place to sleep because, they'd all given up, almost everybody had given up their hotel rooms. And their future flights that they were waiting for, they were going to be taking, were canceled, obviously. So yeah, it was something else. And I can actually understand you feeling guilty. I went through that when Katrina hit down on the Mississippi Gulf Coast because that's where my mom was and I wasn't there. I wasn't there to help take care of things that needed to be taken care of. And so it was really hard for me because I couldn't go in the beginning. I had no place to go to because work needed to be done on mom's house. My sister and her family was staying at mom's house because they lost their house. And so yeah, I I settled with myself and that I could just do relief efforts from afar. And that was what I did. But it just, I kept going over that I should be there. So I understand that feeling of not being there and feeling that you should. Hi, MZ. Oh, that's going down smooth. I notice I keep pulling this towards me. I'll shift this camera back a little bit. Now you can actually see me stitching things. I actually turned on more lights in here to make it a little easier to see. I changed my lamp from having 3 lights on to having all 5 on. And Lisa, when I was going through my tumbles, I actually thought I finished them, and I found a few more that I have to go through now. And then I can start taking pictures of those and deciding which ones will go in glasses and stuff like that, and how I'm going to display those. Can't get it. And then I can finish up my little things, and then I can go to the big things. A lot of what I'm doing, it's by feel. I got my threads crossed. What in there? Okay, read. I think she uses mineral oil. I think mineral oil is safe for most things. Do not oil your selenite. Dust your selenite. Can't remember who it was. I asked about putting like a polyurethane coat on rocks to keep them shiny. And I recommended against that. I mean, if they're your rocks, you can do whatever you want, but personally, I think it would totally devalue them if you polyurethaned all your rocks. I got to figure out if I can find like this miniature vacuum or with the HEPA filter thing to suck dust out of the cabinet and see if I can create a semi-dust free environment. Because, honey, I live in the South. There's nothing dust free around here. Well, we're past the halfway point. Yay. I think I'm going to have to get that other lamp and put it behind me. Because while this works great, having light here on this side of me, I have no light behind me. Oh, I got something caught here. What's going on? Where's my little stabby thing? There it goes. Got a thread caught somewhere. I think I stitched through. Yep. I stitched through the other thread. Which causes it to not sew smoothly. I pulled my needle off and backed the thread out. MZ, the gym club, the gym guy uses an air blower and blows the air. He had like a leaf blower or something on some of the big ones. And Lisa, I do have a box going for you with the sphere stands in it that I won't use. And some more bags. And all those seed beads I told you I was going to send you and I forgot to bring to you. I actually have them sitting in the box so that I don't forget them this time. I'm the weirdo that only likes the clear acrylic stands. Other than my cupcake stands for the spheres. And so all the other ones I have, I give them to Lisa to do with as she sees fit, whether it be keep them for herself or pair them with a beautiful sphere for sale. I don't care what she does with them. All I care about is that they're not in my house anymore and they're being used. fits well with my crazy behavior. If you can't throw it away if it's of something that's perfectly good and useful. I can't wait to pull out those wire cupcake holder thingies and make adjustments to them so that I can start putting spheres on them. The only one I'm worried about putting on one of those stands is my big ones, like my chocolate calcite. And I think I have a Caribbean that's really big like that too. Caribbean calcite. I worry about them falling off the top. Are you being difficult? There we go. You just don't feel like you're where you're supposed to be. Yeah, Marcia, and that's where my problem is because I was collecting all these bags that I get, those little mesh bags that we get tumbles in and all. Lisa sends them and Kendra sends them and Robbie sends them, and I've got them from other things as well. And so I was just stashing them in a bigger bag that was a perfectly good bag that I couldn't throw away. And it's like, yeah, nah, I got to do something with all of these. So when I went down, I asked Lisa if she would be interested in them, and she's like, yeah. If it saves her a penny or 5 pennies or whatever, then you know, if she puts them all and puts her own spheres on them, that still in theory saves her money. She's not buying it herself, but it saves my brain in that something that was perfectly good did not get tossed out or just left in a box somewhere. It's being used. The only exception I have to not using acrylic stands is I have one that's green. Yep, my brain just went dead. Um, all that green stuff I just got. And I have the one little stand. I have a stand for one piece. And so yeah, I reuse and everything like that, and repurpose, pass things on to other people because it's not even, and I'll say it, it's not that I know that Lisa can buy whatever sphere stands Lisa wants, okay? And so it's not even those kind of things. It's just giving it to someone I know who would appreciate it and use it. Jennifer, you take care of yourself and know that you're in my thoughts and prayers for your surgery at the end of this week. I know you'll be okay. You're in good hands. You got good caretakers. And you follow doctor's orders anyway. So you have a good night. You sent me a picture? Look at all the pretties. MZ sent me a picture. MZ sent me a picture of all the pretties. Oh, thank you, Marcia. Just carrying on what my family taught me growing up. It's an extension of it's I grew up sewing. When my grandmother got where she couldn't use her machine very well anymore, she couldn't even see to thread the needle anymore. She wore house dresses. She wore muumuus, basic house dresses. No shape to them. But we made them. She wouldn't buy them because that's how my grandmother was. When the store was around, we would go down to the local TG&Y, tells you my age, and get the basic cotton fabric because that's what she liked. And I would go over to Grandma's house and spend the weekend with her, which was next door, so it wasn't like a big way to go. But I would hang out at her house, and she would tell me stories from the past. And I would sew her dresses. She got where she wouldn't go to the store anymore, so she let me go to the store and buy her fabric for her. And I came back with some that was different from what she normally would use. But when we made the dress out of it and put the trim on it and everything, she was like, okay, it's not fabric I would have bought for a dress, but I like it. My first name, legal first name, is my grandmother's middle name. I was named after my grandmother, on my mom's grandmother, my maternal grandmother, and one of my aunts on my dad's side of the family. I can't feel the hole. Oh, it's being difficult. It should not be that difficult finding these stupid little holes. I should have brought my coffee down here and finished up my coffee. But this is the trim we cut last night. Well, I cut last night and did put the holes in from that same leather. That leather that I oiled or greased last night. Get my little pink piece out of the way. I use a lot of obnoxious colors for basting. One of the reasons is it makes it where I can find it easy to pull it. Same thing with measuring center points or lining things up. I use those bright threads so I can see them. Remember they're there. I think the grandchild's back in the kitchen. I just have to get, well, actually with me streaming, their time, cooking times is not terrible. Can't wait to get all the hats caught up. I'd made 2 hats, and I don't know if they mismeasured or I mismeasured, but the hats were a little too small. So I have to remake those. So it's shifting them and fitting them into my commission line. But I could not put them before this one. But I'm going to measure the way they are because they obviously sent them back to me. And then I'm going to add to them. And get them back out to them. Those I actually have, so wind up sewing. Those get sewn on the sewing machine. Streaming those is a little bit more difficult because I can't see my computer screen at that point. Because my computer is sitting in front of me, slightly to my right, and my sewing machine is behind me on the right. Of course, if I brought the other phone down, I might could set up 2 cameras. And I don't know. I'll figure it out. Maker's Mark, no. I actually have labels that I put in everything. Which evidently I had a label down and I've misplaced it too. Let me snip one off. I actually bought labels, and I fold them and stitch them. And just realized I can't see where my hand is and put. So it says, Tori Jones Leatherworks, and it has my email address on here. And then I'll just fold this. I'll actually fold it up. And I will stitch it, and then I will hand stitch it into the back of the hat. Probably on the next layer up, I will stitch it like in the seam but it'll be in this layer. That way it's not aggravating the back of the neck. I cut this off, so I need to heat up these edges and melt them just a little bit so they don't fray. And stop that from fraying. And I'll stick this over here on my... I have my hat heads, the cloth covered heads that they use for wigs and stuff like that. I use them for hats when I'm making hats because I have them in multiple sizes. And I use them when I'm working on hats and different aspects of the hats. But I also have a tendency to stick pins in them with pieces of pattern pieces or whatever I need for a project. I wind up sticking them in there. Now let me see. Marcia, I think when I get things caught up, I'm going to actually do a stream on leather care. I will move my computer and everything over to one of my bigger tables, work areas, and I will pull out some stuff and do some leather care videos. Maybe I'll start doing that like one day a week after I get my commissions caught up. Set aside one day a week to do leather care. I can do some things myself, do some Q&As, pull out some different leather products I have that I use and go over those. Okay, I'm trying to figure out what Sue's talking about. Oh, the caliper stands. I guess she's saying, do you modify them or make them new? You can, Marcia? I know I'll be opening myself up to some of the annoying people who are very opinionated on the right ways to take care of leathers. But these are also the people that use cooking products on their leather clothes. I do not. I do not believe in using olive oil on your clothes. Olive oil's for cooking, not for wearing. I do not use it for conditioning leather. Some people do. I do not. My olive oil's for salad and cooking. My leather conditioner is for my leather. Oh, the hats that they sent back. No, I'm not going to be able to modify them because they're sewn and I can't make it bigger. So I will resell those. I will just sell those. I'll measure them, get an exact measurement on it, and post them for sale. And pray that they sell because I lost money. I'm losing money on that commission. Because it's white leather and I don't keep white leather on hand. So I bought the leather when they commissioned me, and I keep hitting my camera. I bought the leather when they commissioned me to do the project. And then I had to rebuy the leather to remake them. I mean, the guy was nice about it. He's like, if there's additional costs, let me know, but I'm not gonna do that. Just fix it and continue on. Get out of there. Getting back through that hard corner spot. I gotta sit here and flip this around so I can actually see where the hole is. One would think trying to find where black thread goes through a hole would be easy. No. Actually, let me just pull this stitch. That way I'm not messing with that leather anymore. Through one hole. Through the other hole. And then through that hole. The saddle stitch that I'm doing actually mimics a sewing machine because you have stitching on the top and on the bottom that's identical when I'm with the basic saddle stitch. That is not true with some of the other stitches I'll do. The saddle stitch is basically sewing it like a sewing machine would sew it. And that missed a hole. That's okay. I shall catch the hole. I need to remember to drink something as I'm doing this stuff, because my throat will get dry and then I start coughing. Okay, let me see. I'm reading. MZ, can you send information on where you got those caliper stands from? Oh, cool. Of course, Lisa, that's what she does is she attacks people, and then when people clap back at her, it's, you're giving me a stroke. And it's like, honey, shut up. If you don't dish it out, if you can't take it back. If you're going to throw out your mouth and run your mouth, you better be able to take what's coming back at you. You can't sit there and badmouth people, and then when someone calls you out on it, you start boo-hooing about it. I guess that's the problem with so many of the internet trolls nowadays. They want to talk smack about somebody, but when someone calls them out on it, they want to boo-hoo, 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 boo-hoo about someone calling them out on their behavior. So yeah, if I talk smack about someone, I promise you I can handle them calling me out for it, for anything I say. But then I only say what's true. Not my truth, the truth. Kind of like when someone said they paid for stuff for me to make my etouffee, and I said no, but I also have witnesses of where that stuff came from and who paid for it. Hi, Beth. Hope you're doing well. I won't be on tonight as long as I was last night. I am going to be off at 9 o'clock so we can all take a break, get a drink, get a snack, and prepare for Lisa's live on Two Lees in a Pod. Let's see Lisa and Kendra over there. And if it has not been done so, someone can post Lisa's the Two Lees in the Pod link, because they're scheduled at 9:40 tonight, I believe. On Tuesdays they go on sometime around 9:30. Thursdays it's usually closer around 10. Oh, that sounds like fun. Not Beth. There's a reason I live in the South. I can't. I personally cannot live in a place that has snow every year like that. I think snow is beautiful. Don't mind visiting the snow on occasion, but I do not want to live where there's snow yearly. Lisa, do you want to post your link for your live tonight? I look up and I see Beth saying not really. And so I was like, what do you mean not really? And then I realized it wasn't Lisa telling me not really. Yeah, when I moved to North Carolina a long time ago, the first year I was there, they had, people were telling me, oh, come to North Carolina. It's not bad. We don't get snow all that often. And when we do, we don't get that much. First year I was there, the first snow was 18 inches. And about 4 days later, we had another 6 or 8 inches. So I'm like, okay, so it doesn't snow that much here. They said, oh, well, this is unusual. From the time I first moved there until 10 years later when I left North Carolina, or over 10 years, I can't remember, there was some kind of frozen precipitation falling out of the sky every year. and which I found was really odd considering I was told that did not happen on a regular. So I decided that North Carolina was as north as I care to ever live. Everything else has to be south of that point. And with my biological family being all the way down in the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and Jeff's family, his children being in South Carolina, and we have a lot of friends here in the Atlanta area, and we're coming around the Atlanta area all the time to visit, we decided that this was the good place to live. Beth, the best thing I saw, someone used a flamethrower to melt the ice instead of shoveling ice off their driveway. They had parked their cars, I guess, in the garage. The guy got out there with a flamethrower and just melted it all. It was hilarious. And, the philosophy was, well, you go over it and everything melts, then you go over it again and dry it up so it's not slick. I'm like, that's crazy. Yeah, that would be my way. If I had to live in snow country, that would be my way of doing it. It'd be like, I got to have a flamethrower. Because, yeah, I want a flamethrower attached to a four-wheeler so I don't even have to hold it. Just light it up and connect it to the four-wheeler so I can control it and make it go. Or a lawnmower and make it go. And, yeah, tell everybody to buy me what I need, and I'll take care of getting rid of the snow in our area, on our street. We need to They need to install heat elements. I saw one place they put solar panels in the streets. And then they also had heat elements in the streets. So when it snowed, the snow didn't stick to the streets because the streets were heated using the electricity that was gathered off grid using solar panels. All their parking lots, public parking, was covered by solar panels. And that's kind of what I want to do. Is I want to close in my garage and then build another garage over my parking pad, because my parking pad will hold like 8 cars, and turn that more into the garage and just give me more space. And then I can move all my crafting and everything downstairs to the new room I build out of the garage. And then put solar panels on the new garage. And set up the batteries and everything so that I can have enough to run a whole house generator for a little while. I want to replace the garage in the back, and I thought about putting solar panels on the garage roof. if Marcia ever moves, she still has to make sure she has a big garage to put all those boxes of rocks in when she buys them for her grandson. If I ever hit the lottery, I'll buy another house. But then I'll decide if I'm going to buy my daughter a house to stay in, or if I'm going to buy me a different house to move to and leave her here. If I hit the lottery, I think I might just buy a bigger piece of property. Much bigger piece of property that's fenced all around. Leave this house for my daughter or my grandson, whoever, whatever, and move myself to just a bigger piece of property where my house is in the middle of the property and I don't have to look at neighbors. And there's no way for anyone's vehicle to roll into mine. I need to find an address for YouTube. Sure, if I looked, I could find it. Well, that's just it, Sue. I want to build a place. I want to have a place where the house is more centrally located in the middle of the property or something. But also, I would love to have a place that has cabins, like a couple of cabins, so that it would be like, oh, we're going to go dig amethyst. Lisa, come on, you and Gabe can stay in this cabin. And it'd be, modern convenience cabin, not just a plywood board with a mattress on it, but like mini houses, um, tiny homes, I guess would be the best way to put it. And have like multiple tiny homes on the property that are close in proximity, but where, I could have multiple people come and visit at one time, and but they would still be able to have their own privacy. I'm almost finished. Okay. Comes in especially useful if people have to fly into Atlanta because I'm so close to the airport. Even if someone wasn't coming to stay, but it's like something happened and they have a layover or, whatever. I'm not that far from the airport. Just saying. I am located close to the airport. Now comes the fun part of connecting all these pieces together. And I will do this, and then I will go straight into sewing this. And I'm going to snip this right there. When I'm doing stuff with the edges and stuff like that, I always cut more than I need. I always have more than you need. It's just the way I grew up. It's the same thing when I cook food. If I have 5 people in the house, I'm cooking for 6. And I totally missed this hole. Maybe I wasn't supposed to go in that hole yet. Oh, no, I wasn't. I was over one. Or I unstitched what I was stitching. This one through. Grab this thread. Lisa is very close to Robbie. I think I'm like 6 to 8 hours from Robbie's. So see, that would work in too if people were going to Robbie's and they were going to rent a car. They could fly into Atlanta if they wanted, depending on, sometimes where you fly into really changes the price of a ticket. And there's sometimes that it's more financially feasible to fly into Atlanta. Or if we were going at the same time and we were road tripping, you could fly into Atlanta, pick you up from the airport, give you a place to stay overnight, which right now with everybody in the house, I cannot do that, which drives me nuts. There it is. This hole. Do you want spot? Spot. Spot, I think. Make sure I'm using the opposite thread, not the same thread that I just put through there. All right. There it goes. Now I feel the hole. And I'm going to go 1 stitch over to hold this edge down. But I'm also going to go this way. That was there. You got to hold the inside edge down. That'll hold that outside edge down. And then I'm going to backtrack back to here so that I can go on and zigzag up. And yes, that means pain in the booty stitching through all this stuff that's already been stitched. But this reinforces that opening right there. Stitches are tight because I used a smaller hole. There we go. Pull that good and snug. This one back on the back side where I need it. No, I missed it. Did not go under that thread, and I need to do that under that. Both of these missed the hole. In the edge piece. And I absolutely want to catch that hole. So basically the way I stitched it, it was equivalent to back stitching it on a sewing machine. I do 2 needles, Sue. I am using 2 different needles, 2 needles. And what'll happen on this side, I'm going to cross the threads will cross over. And catch them on my clips. So it'll make an X on the back side. And when I sew it on this side, I will actually just go straight across. And so it'll have 2 layers of stitching on this side. So when I pull it snug, you can see this side only has the stitching going across here, left to right, where on the back it makes an X. And I flipped the rim to do this because I am mental and my crosses have to go the same way every time. The thread on this side has to cross first, then this thread. So when I pull them through, they look exactly the same, with the thread going from my right to my left being on top, because I'm mental like that. I don't know what the exact mileage is for getting to Robbie's. All I know is I jump on 75 and I go. It's a straight shot. Unless there's been a severe traffic accident and they reroute us like they did last time. Last time I did a lot of driving in the country road, on down on the country roads, side roads, horse fields, cow fields. Yeah, because there was evidently a very fatal collision. And it was funny because that was when we had, that day was the day we had all the issues with the hot water heater going out. So we were delayed in leaving. And then Lily Topher and I stopped at a truck stop so we could get a shower because we did not want to show up at Lisa's house being smelly kids. And so we were delayed. And, you know, it's frustrating when you're running behind. What's going on? Yeah, we were delayed going behind, and I get frustrated with that. But then on the other side of it, there was a fatal collision. And had we been on time, we may have been in the middle of it. If Kendra is not going to be there tonight, I if you need company, I can go on, but you know, you do your live, talk about stuff, do your thing. And I'm pulling that, and you see it pulls those seams together, and then when I tap it, it pushes those edges together. And when I tap this with the hammer, which I'll do after I finish stitching this, it'll make it lay flat, and you won't see the line there. I mean, you'll notice the difference in the leather. If it was all one kind of leather, you wouldn't even notice the break in the leather. You would notice the stitching. And this is where not sewing through the other thread is important, because if I sew through the other thread that's there, I can't pull it snug. And I need to be able to pull that snug to keep all this stuff together. Pull nice and snug. And I am doing a surgeon's knot, which you cannot see because I have so much thread left over from this. I way overestimated the amount of thread I needed. Ouch. Melt those thread ends. This back. Got a nice handy dandy visor. I'm going to pull out my fancy hammer. Lay down. This is what I usually do when I'm not online. I don't usually do this online because it's noisy. Is it too loud? If so, I will mute the camera while I hammer. Why do I do that? It flattens the stitches out, Sue. You can see here where it flattens it more, and here it's uneven raised up. And this way it balances that out. It also helps balance the tension if I didn't pull it all exactly the same. It causes the leather underneath to mush around, which helps fill those holes that I've created in there. So it's easier to see on this side. Let me see if I can get it where you can see the holes through the leather. I need to switch over to that one. You can see the holes, but here you can see where the holes are. I mean, you can see that there's holes there, but you can't see daylight underneath them. Whereas if I can't do that. Yes, I can. If I put a light underneath this on this side, you can see the holes. And if I put it here over the stitching, you can't see the light through the holes anymore because I've pushed the leather around and I've pushed the thread around and there's wax. And so it covers everything up. Okay, Lisa, I'll do that. I mean, I can find something to fondle for everybody. I can go upstairs and get a rock and bring it down here and fondle it. Maybe I'll go get an amethyst or something. Or a tower or a skull. Oh, that's terrible that she's not feeling well. And I will work on this a little bit more to smooth this out some more. But I think overall it looks good. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm debating if I want to go ahead and do this, the part you cannot see my hands because I've got them behind the camera. I'm debating if I want to go ahead and sew this part together next. This would all go together like this. And then when it goes out, you'll not see that pink thread there, but you will see that little black piece peeking out between the two. It is 8:30, so actually I'm not going to start this part yet. What I will do while I'm not online is I will go ahead and measure where I need to start and go ahead and punch my holes into this piece to have it ready to go. And then I can wrap my head around, do I want to sew the roof on first or do I want to sew the next layer up? Okay, Lisa, send me the link and I'll come in. I'll come in and bug you. Yeah, that's it. I won't do any hammering though. But you finished up that part. You can see that took an hour, or actually it took an hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5 hours to get it together and stitch all the way around here. It's time consuming. If I'm doing, like on a Saturday, if I wake up in the morning and I'm doing nothing but leather crafting, I can finish a hat in 2 days from beginning to finish. I've done it. But that means I'm doing nothing else. I'm doing nothing but working on the hat. No going shopping or anything like that. I should have a Lisa box coming soon. I might go back and put another layer of thread on this because I can see the holes through the back of this. Even though I hammered it, I can still see it. And so I might wind up putting more, going back over these holes just for my mental stability, my own mental self. Now it makes me wonder if I need to run double thread through my needles. Can I run double thread through my needles? Good question. Well, I will tell you, Marcia, if your card expired and they sent you another card, you do not get notification that your card expired. Ask me how I know. I had that problem. My bank card got reissued and I didn't receive anything that says, we need all your information all over again. So they just didn't send me my box. I was very sad about that. And so they told me just to resubscribe, and that's one of the things they're going to try to fix. Now, let me see. I'm going to play a minute and see. Oh, that's going to be hard to do. Oh, but I wouldn't have it like that. Yeah, can't do it that way. Oh, my fingers are not functioning today. I don't know why. Pull it like that. Double that thread. Oh, it's still gonna. Trying to find a way to run it with double thread. It's just I'm not working with a lot of extra space in these holes. I might not be able to. Hmm. If you're on Instagram, you can always contact them. That's how I found out what happened with mine. I was like, "Hey, I haven't gotten a box," and he goes, "Hey, your card's expired." I'm like, "Hey, I didn't get notification." He goes, "What?" He says, our system did not send you notification that we were trying to charge your card and your card was expired. I'm like, nope. And so he said that was something he was going to try to get them to fix in the system. Because, people's bank cards expire all the time. If I do this, I'm trying to see what it looks like if I use twice as much thread. I'll just cut this out when I'm done. Just scrap thread leftovers. Yeah, that actually fills the holes. I might do that now. Sounds good to me. So that's what I'm going to do. Yeah, I purposefully use the small holes though. I think part of it is this leather itself doesn't smush, like technical term. It doesn't smush the same way the other one does. A lot of the other leather I use does. So I'm going to do a little running stitch up and back. How the heck did I stitch my hammer in there? Obviously, I don't want to do it the way I'm doing this back. I don't want to restitch everything. So I'll use double threads. It'll be interesting pulling those double threads, but that's okay. I can do it. And then go back the other way. I usually do not sew leather with only one thread. Before I tie off and everything, I'm going to hammer this and see if I like the way it looks better. Well, I better like it because I think I stitched my thread up in here. It's not actually sewn in. And then when I I think it's better. I think I like it better with the double stitching. It's going to all disappear in this. I keep wanting to call it fabric. It's not fabric in this leather. In surgeon's knot, you loop once, you loop twice, and you pull. And then I do it in the opposite direction. That one I put the left thread closest to me. This one I'll put the right thread closest to me, and then loop once, twice, and pull. And it creates a good tension on that knot. So that knot by itself would probably will not pull out. Not. But I also burn my threads and smush it down to create basically like a little bead of the plastic type material that the threads are made out of. And I will often go back and hammer that flat. And so those stitches will hold. Ta-da! So now I've shown you how to sew the edging on, how to do a surgeon's knot, how to bang your stitches. Yeah, I hate when I mess up and have to unstitch something. The worst thing I ever did was I was sewing this piece on and I didn't double check and didn't put it this way. I flipped it when I started sewing it. And there's more holes in the top of this than what there are in the bottom. So I wasn't paying attention, got almost all the way around it and realized I sewed it on upside down and had to sit there and pick the stitches out carefully. But this will go on this way. I think I am going to alter this piece tonight and take off one layer so that because this one butts up against each other and this one overlaps, and I hate putting those together because I think it just looks wrong to have two different kinds of seams. And with this one, you can see this edge because of that. So I think I'm just going to do it where the seam looks just like this one when I stitch it together. I think that would be better. So it is 8:41. I think I'm going to go ahead and start closing out the night so that I can consume calories and get me something to drink. And get all settled in. There's no more cake. Even though that cake, Ollie needs to share that cake recipe too. That was a from scratch cake recipe and it was awesome. It's supposed to be like a bakery style recipe. So it doesn't taste like most of your homemade cake recipes do. It tastes like a bakery cake would taste, which was very good. Usually in our house, when someone makes cake, somebody else is complaining about the cake. Oh, you didn't make a chocolate cake, or you didn't make one with sprinkles, or you did make one with sprinkles. And why did you make one with sprinkles? And this was a plain yellow cake or white cake. And nobody complained. Everybody was like, oh my gosh, this cake is delicious. Yeah, Ollie cough up recipes. That's what I'm going to have to tell him to do, because, and tell him, then you can tell people you've been published. And he is, he's like me. He doesn't, you can give him a recipe and he's still going to change it. I enjoy sharing with other people, Sue. Um, it's in my nature. I'm a teacher. I'm a parent, a parenting type person. I'm a teacher. That's what I do. I look out for others. Try to help others, educate others in any way I can. And if I, even if it's something that you're not going to do, Marcia O is not going to start hand sewing leather, because I've heard you have so much patience to do this. But that doesn't mean Marcia's not interested in just watching it and seeing the process. And I've had other people say, I wish I could. I can't do it. I don't have the patience, or I don't have the skills for it. And different people have different skill sets. So I'm going to let everybody go. Go grab yourself a snack. Go grab yourself something to drink. Run and pay your water bill. As Rosie always puts it, go pay your water bill. And see, I don't have the patience for needlepoint and cross stitching. It takes too much time to get something finished. Same reason why I don't crochet. It's not that I wasn't taught how, because I was. My grandmother taught us all the things that she learned when she was a little girl. And I'm grateful for that. But I like doing my leather crafts because I can get results faster. And that's where my patience doesn't come. I couldn't make an elaborate ball gown. It takes too many days. Yeah, see, I couldn't do that. That's 3 weeks. That's too much time for that, for the size of it. Gorgeous. I appreciate the work someone can put into it. I understand that that is 3 weeks worth of work. It is the process. But yeah, no. My crocheting is called granny squares because each square is a complete project. I see, Sandra, now you're insane. Sorry. So crochet with sewing thread. That's insane. My mom used to crochet all the time. She blue ribbon at the county fairs, make stuff. She made, doilies used to be a big thing, and she made beaded doilies. She would get her spool of thread, and we would sit there and string beads, and string however many beads she needed plus extras, just in case some of them broke, because they were glass beads. And she would crochet, and she would pull up her bead and crochet it right into it. And gorgeous stuff, gorgeous. And we would sit there and we would support her, our support. We will string all your beads you need strung, Mama. And one year she put 3 or 4 pieces in the county fair, and she got a blue ribbon on everything she did. but using that small thread like that, no. Using standard crochet thread, which is close to this size, is, yeah, that's still, give me granny squares, give me yarn, and I'll make granny squares, and then put the granny squares together to make a blanket. Oh, wait, that reminds me. I have a bunch of granny squares that need to be put together into a blanket. Maybe I should do that. Yeah, somewhere I have something that was my grandmother's. That I don't know if it was made for her or she made it, but it is her first name that I stole out of the house. My family is really petty about a lot of stuff. I had to put my grandmother's house down on lockdown when she passed away. I literally went and took the keys. I put all of her valuables into one cabinet, locked it, and I took the keys and took them home because everybody showed up. And where's mama's purse? Where's the purse? I need to get some money for gas. Where's the purse? Where's the jewelry? Everybody was looking for everything, and I had everything locked up. So the only person that mattered was my uncle that lived there and took care of my grandmother until the day she died. I told him that I locked everything up and took the keys, and I told him why. And once everything got going, he let me take whatever I wanted from the house. My phone's ringing and I can't see who's calling me, but it's a phone number, so I don't know who it is. And I want you all to have a wonderful evening. I hope to see you all on Two Leaves in a Pod, hanging out there. I will be over there with Lisa, supporting her. Let me get that link and post that in here. Oh, my computer is acting stupid. And I think that one starts around 4 or 9:40 is when she was planning on starting her live. Yeah, it's scheduled for 9:40. So I'm going to get off here so I can get some stuff done. You guys don't need to be looking at my vape. And I will be on Thursday. I'm not going to stream tomorrow. I might prep some stuff for another project while I'm waiting and get some of this stuff prepped up. But Thursday I will be back on at 6 p.m. again until 9 or 9:30. And hopefully we'll get the hat finished in the next couple of sessions. And I will see you all later. And you have a wonderful evening. Thank you, everybody. Bye.